We're going to get started. If the members have taken their seat, if any guests and visitors, please retire behind the rail. We will have our invocation. To give our invocation this morning, the chair recognizes Brother Ernest Miller, Vice President for Mission, LaSalle University. He is here today as a guest of Councilman Greenlee. I would ask all guests, visitors, and members to please rise.
So let us remember that we gather here in God's holy presence. To the Most High God, we come today with praise and thanksgiving for the blessings that overflow. Thank you, God, for the life you give, for the community in which we live, for daily bread and for feasts of joy. Thank you for our public servants, mayor and councilpersons, and all those who share responsibility as custodians of the common good. Let our prayer be that the daughters and sons of God in our time imagine and enact new possibilities of working together towards achieving the modest goal of an imperfect, fragile, but attainable and sustainable justice. For eyes of wisdom to discern the work of the Spirit, for eyes of strength to recognize a new reality, for eyes of patience to ask difficult questions, for eyes of faith to recognize God's face in the human faces of others, for eyes of knowledge to move beyond our own world, for eyes of understanding to listen with loving hearts, for eyes of justice to resist and repair, to disrupt and to wake up, for eyes of love to see the beloved community. And so we ask, O God, open our eyes and move us forward. And so may the road rise to meet us, may the wind be at our back, may the sunlight of God grace our cheek, and may rain gently fall upon our field. And may God keep us in the hollow of God's hand. And let us all say, amen.
Amen. Thank you so much for those inspiring words. Council will be at ease. Thank you very much. The next order of business is the approval of the journal. The meeting of Thursday, February 22nd, 2018, and the chair recognizes Councilman Greenlee.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the journal of the meeting of Thursday, February 22nd, 2018 be approved. Second.
Thank you. It has been moved and properly seconded that the journal of the meeting of Thursday, February 22nd, 2018 stand approved. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, ayes have it, and the journal is approved. Next order of business is request for leave of absence, and the chair recognizes Councilman Heenan.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the majority, there are no requests of leave of absence today.
Chair thanks the gentleman. The chair now recognizes Councilman O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the Republicans, there are no requests for leave of absence.
Chair thanks the gentleman. This time I would like to dispense with the regular order of business, and I would like to welcome and thank everyone who has taken time out of their busy day to come down to witness their government in action. be a little something different today, as you all know. So I want to say I appreciate you coming down. We hope your stay here is a knowledgeable one, but more importantly, a pleasurable one, so much so that you come back again. So again, thank you. The next order of business is communications, and the chair requests that the Sergeant of Arms delivers the messages from the mayor to the chief clerk. Thank you. Mr. Decker, would you please read those messages?
To the President and members of the Council of the City of Philadelphia, pursuant to Sections 4604 and 2307 of the Home Rule Charter, I am today transmitting to the Council the recommendation of the City Planning Commission on the following bills. Bill numbers 180003, 180004, 180005, 180008, 180009, 180014, 180075, and 180080. And I am pleased to advise you that on February 28, 2018, I signed the following bill, which was passed by council at a session on February 15, 2018, Bill number 170793. And I am transmitting for the consideration of your honorable body a resolution approving the redevelopment contract of the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority for the redevelopment and urban renewal of a portion of the Grays Ferry urban renewal area identified by house number and street address as 2600 through 2602 Wharton Street. And a resolution reappointing Michael Piper to the position of Chief Assessment Officer of the Office of Property Assessment. And a resolution providing for the approval by the Council of the City of Philadelphia of a revised 5-year financial plan for the City of Philadelphia, covering fiscal years 2019 through 2023, and incorporating proposed changes with respect to fiscal year 2018, which is to be submitted by the Mayor to the Pennsylvania Intergovernmental Cooperation Authority. And an ordinance amending Subcode A, the Philadelphia Administrative Code of Title IV of the Philadelphia Code, the Building Construction and Occupancy Code, by revising and clarifying certain provisions. And an ordinance amending Title 14 of the Philadelphia Code, amending Title 4 of the Philadelphia Code, entitled the Philadelphia Building Construction and Occupancy Code, by adopting the 2015 edition of the International Residential Code, as published by the International Code Council, with previously adopted amendments thereto, as adopted through the Pennsylvania Uniform Construction Code Act. And an ordinance amending Title IV of the Philadelphia Code entitled the Philadelphia Building Construction and Occupancy Code by adopting the 2018 edition of the International Codes, as published by the International Code Council, with previously adopted amendments thereto, as authorized by the Pennsylvania Uniform Construction Code Act. And an ordinance authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to enter into a lease agreement with Roxborough Development Corporation for use by the corporation of all or a portion of the premises located at 463 through 65 Leverington Avenue. And an ordinance adopting the operating budget for fiscal year 2019, and an ordinance to adopt the fiscal 2019 capital budget, and an ordinance to adopt a capital program for the 6 fiscal years 2019 through 2024 inclusive, and an ordinance amending Chapter 1500 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Wage and Net Profits Tax by revising certain tax rates, and an ordinance amending Chapter 1400 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Realty Transfer Tax to increase the rate of realty transfer tax, and an ordinance amending Section 1301.1 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Homestead Exclusion to increase the amount of the homestead exclusion, and an ordinance amending Chapter 1800 of the Philadelphia Code entitled School Tax Authorization to authorize the Board of Education to impose a real estate tax for the School District of Philadelphia, all under certain terms and conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Decker. You have any additional messages?
I have none, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. The next order of business is the introduction of bills and resolutions, and the chair recognizes Councilwoman Reynolds Brown.
Good morning, Mr. President. I
Morning.
offer one resolution this morning.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
A privilege resolution recognizing and celebrating the 2018 Small Business Week celebration in the City of Philadelphia.
And that will be on today's final passes calendar. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Blackwell.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today I introduce one non-privileged resolution signed by everyone.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
A privilege resolution recognizing and honoring Cheney University on the 40th anniversary of its 1978 NCAA Division II basketball championship.
And that will be on today's final passes calendar. Chair recognizes Councilman Greenlee.
Thank you, Mr. President. On your behalf, I offer one resolution.
Thank you, Councilman.
A non-privileged resolution authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority, without consideration, deeds conveying conditional fee simple title to certain city-owned lots or pieces of ground with the buildings and improvements thereon situate in the 15th Ward of the City of Philadelphia.
And that will be on next week's final passage calendar. The Chair recognizes Councilman Heenan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today I'll offer 15 bills, 2 resolutions, 3 bills co-introduced by Councilwoman Marie Coronado Sanchez, 7 bills on your behalf, and 1 resolution on your behalf.
Thank you, Councilman.
An ordinance to adopt a capital program for the 6 fiscal years 2019 through 2024 inclusive. And an ordinance to adopt a fiscal 2019 capital budget. And an ordinance adopting the operating budget for fiscal year 2019. And an ordinance amending Chapter 19-1800 of the Philadelphia Code entitled School Tax Authorization to authorize the Board of Education to impose a real estate tax for the School District of Philadelphia. And an ordinance amending Section 1301.1 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Homestead Exclusion to increase the amount of homestead exclusion. And an ordinance amending Chapter 19-1400 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Realty Transfer Tax to increase the rate of realty transfer tax. And an ordinance amending Chapter 19-1500 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Wage and Net Profits Tax by revising certain tax rates. And an ordinance amending Title 14 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Zoning and Planning by revising Chapter 14-700 entitled Development Standards by creating regulations for semi-detached structures and making related changes. And an ordinance authorizing the revision of lines and grades on a portion of City Plan Number 322 by striking from the City Plan and vacating Glenlock Place from McGargy Street to its terminus northeastwardly therefrom, striking from the City Plan and vacating Dittman Street from a point southwest of Talbot Street to its terminus further southwestwardly therefrom. And an ordinance amending Section 9208 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Sidewalk Cafes by permitting sidewalk cafes to be maintained on Frankfort Avenue both sides from Bly Avenue to Wellington Street, and Cotman Avenue both sides from Frankfort Avenue to Leon Street. And an ordinance to amend the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by Oakmont Street, Torresdale Avenue, Pennypack Creek, Rawn Street, and Rowland Avenue. And an ordinance to amend the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by Sheffield Avenue, Leon Street, Solly Avenue, Frankfort Avenue, Stanwood Street, and Erdrich Street. And an ordinance amending Title IV of the Philadelphia Code entitled the Philadelphia Building Construction and Occupancy Code by adopting the 2015 edition of the International Residential Code as published by the International Code Council with previously adopted amendments thereto. And an ordinance amending Subcode A, the Philadelphia Administrative Code of Title IV of the Philadelphia Code, the Building Construction and Occupancy Code, by revising and clarifying certain provisions, making corrections for compliance with the Pennsylvania Uniform Construction Code Act. And an ordinance amending Title IV of the Philadelphia Code entitled the Philadelphia Building Construction and Occupancy Code by adopting the 2018 edition of the International Codes as published by the International Code Council with previously adopted amendments thereto, as authorized by the Pennsylvania Uniform Construction Code Act.
Those 15 bills just read by the Chief Clerk will be referred to the appropriate committee.
And a privilege resolution honoring the St. Hubert High School cheerleading teams on a season of success culminating in junior varsity winning the national championship and varsity winning the PIAA state championship.
And that will be on today's final passage calendar.
And a non-privileged resolution providing for the approval of approval by the Council of the City of Philadelphia of a revised 5-year financial plan for the City of Philadelphia covering fiscal years 2019 through 2023 and incorporating proposed changes with respect to fiscal year 2018, which is to be submitted by the mayor to the Pennsylvania Intergovernmental Cooperation Authority.
And that will be referred to committee. That it? Thank you. Chair recognizes Councilman Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have one bill, one privileged, and two non-privileged resolutions.
Thank you, Councilman.
One, briefly, we have an agenda.
After the title? Sure, certainly, Councilman.
An ordinance authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property on behalf of the city to enter into a lease agreement with Roxborough Development Corporation for use by the corporation of all or a portion of the premises located at 463 through 65 Leverington Avenue.
That will be on next week's final passage calendar. I'm sorry. Sorry, Mr. Decker. That will be referred to committee.
And a privilege resolution authorizing the City Council Committee on Finance to hold public hearings concerning an update from the Philadelphia Board of Pensions and Retirement about the city's divestment of holdings in gun and ammunition manufacturers, distributors, and retailers since the adoption of the Sandy Hook principles.
This one?
Yes.
Chair recognizes Councilman Jones.
In the last administration, Mr. President, we raised the question of what we could do about gun violence. In the last administration, Mr. President, you boldly, with other council members, tried to stop certain types of firearms in the city of Philadelphia, for which you were sued, not just professionally, but personally. In this administration, Mr. President, you, I, and my colleague, Councilman Johnson, struck upon a sojourn to try to stem the tide of firearms in the city of Philadelphia, going on a holiday to a gun show where we saw we needed a bigger boat, that the flow of guns coming into Philadelphia was immense. So there are two things today that I am proposing. One is for us to look at those principles that we adopted last year to disinvest in companies that do business with firearm manufacturers, because the only way to approach this is through their pocketbooks, one. And then number two is to look at what happened in Florida and make it a cautionary tale. That we should look at temporary restraining orders. I'll put it to you this way. If on Monday we have a conflict in City Hall, and on Tuesday the person says, I'm going to come back and do something really, really tragic to the people and citizens in City Hall. By Wednesday, we should believe them. And we should go to their homes and temporarily get those firearms, Mr. Sheriff, get them under control until there is a due process, Mr. District Attorney, to determine whether or not they are competent enough to hold those firearms. It is better to be safe than sorry. And we hope that common sense rules and regulations, common sense regulations both at the city and the state can protect us from ourselves, protect us sometimes from elements that need help. And if we can do that, then we can take control of a little bit of our own safety. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman. Look forward to the debate that will be on today's final passage calendar.
And a privilege resolution authorizing the City Council Committee on Public Safety to hold hearings examining the development of an extreme risk protection order program within the City of Philadelphia to allow for the temporary removal of firearms from individuals that pose a high risk of harm to themselves and others.
And that will be on today's final passage calendar.
And a privilege resolution recognizing and honoring Drexel University senior and Overbrook resident Amy Turner for being crowned Miss Philadelphia 2018.
And that will be on this week's calendar.
And a non-privileged resolution calling on the Pennsylvania Interscholastic Athletic Association to revise their rules on religious head coverings for student athletes.
And that will be on next week's calendar. Chair recognizes Councilman Johnson.
Thank you, Council President. I have one privileged resolution and two non-privileged resolutions.
Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you, Council President.
A privilege resolution honoring the legacy of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. on the 50th anniversary of his death.
This week's calendar.
And a non-privileged resolution urging the Senate to reject S-446 entitled Constitutional Concealed Carry Reciprocity Act of 2017, which requires states to recognize licenses or permits from other states, no matter how permissive their licensing standards.
And that'll be on next week's calendar.
And a non-privileged resolution approving the redevelopment contract of the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority for the redevelopment and urban renewal of a portion of the Grays Ferry urban renewal area identified by house number and street address as 2600 through 2602 Wharton Street.
Next week's calendar. Is that it? And the chair recognizes Councilwoman Keona Sanchez.
Thank you, Mr. President. No bills or resolutions today.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Chair recognizes Councilman Green.
Thank you, Council President. I have no bills or resolutions today.
Thank you, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Parker.
Thank you, Mr. President. All for one privilege resolution.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
A privilege resolution commemorating the 50th anniversary of the release of the Kerner Commission's final report entitled The Report of National Advisory Commission on Civil Disorders.
And that will be on this week's final passage calendar. Chair recognizes Councilman Dunn.
Morning, Council President.
Morning.
No bills or resolutions today.
Thank you, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Gim.
Good morning, Council President. I have one non-privileged resolution today.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
A non-privileged resolution affirming the strong support of the City of Philadelphia for public sector workers whose rights and freedoms are threatened as the Supreme Court considers Janus versus AFS-CME and recognizes the important role unions play in raising standards for all workers.
And that will be on next week's calendar. Chair recognizes Councilman Taubenberger.
Morning, Council President. I have one bill on your behalf, which is being co-sponsored by myself and Councilman Brian O'Neill. And I also have one privileged resolution.
Thank you, Councilman.
An ordinance amending Chapter 19-1500 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Wage and Net Profits Tax by revising certain tax rates under certain terms and conditions.
Refer to committee.
And a privilege resolution declaring March 1st, 2018 as Disability Day of Mourning in the City of Philadelphia to raise awareness of Felicity of disabled children and adults.
And that'll be on this week's final passage calendar. Chair recognizes Councilman O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no bills or resolutions.
Thank you, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilman Squilla.
Thank you, Mr. President. No bills or resolutions.
Thank you, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Bass.
Thank you, Mr. President. I offer one bill.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
An ordinance amending Section 9205 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Sidewalk Sales by exempting sidewalk sales by owners and tenants of properties on both sides of 22nd Street between Lehigh Avenue and Allegheny Avenue.
And will be referred to the appropriate committee. Chair recognizes Councilman O.
Thank you very much, Council President. I have one bill, two non-privileged resolutions.
Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you.
An ordinance providing for the submission of the qualified electors of the City of Philadelphia of the proposal set forth in the resolution approved by City Council proposing an amendment to the Philadelphia Home Rule Charter relating to the operating budget and providing for a mandatory $50 million minimum annual appropriation to the Housing Trust Fund or any successor financial facility or such successor financial facilities.
And that will be referred to committee.
And a non-privileged resolution apologizing to the People's Republic of China for the damage caused by a visitor to Philadelphia to a World Heritage artifact loaned by the Shaanxi Cultural Heritage Promotion Center to the Franklin Institute.
And that'll be on next week's calendar.
And a non-privileged resolution proposing an amendment to the Philadelphia Home Rule Charter relating to the operating budget and providing for a mandatory $50 million minimum annual appropriation to the Housing Trust Fund or any successive financial facility or such successor financial facilities.
And that will be referred to committee. That concludes the introduction of bills and resolutions. And the next order of business is reports from committee, and the chair recognizes Councilman Greenlee for a report from the Committee on Rules.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Committee on Rules reports 9 bills with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you. Mr. Decker, please read that report.
To the President and members of the Council of the City of Philadelphia, the Committee on Rules, to which is referred Bill Number 170995, entitled An Ordinance to Amend the Philadelphia Zoning Maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by Ridge Avenue, Paoli Avenue, Umbria Street, Fountain Street, Manayunk Avenue, Gate Street, Pekin Street, and Fountain Street. And Bill Number 170996, entitled An Ordinance to Amend the Philadelphia Zoning Maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by Henry Avenue, Valley Avenue, Domino Lane North, Ridge Avenue, Harmon Road, Fowler Street, Domino Lane, Silverwood Street Extended, Parker Avenue, Pekin Street Extended, Fountain Street, Pekin Street, and Hermitage Street. And Bill Number 171002, entitled An Ordinance to Amend the Philadelphia Zoning Maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by Kensington Avenue, Adams Avenue, Leaper Street Extended, Frankfort Creek, Castor Avenue, Wyoming Avenue, G Street, and Erie Avenue. And Bill Number 171003, entitled An Ordinance to Amend the Philadelphia Zoning Maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by Allegheny Avenue, 2nd Street, Lehigh Avenue, and 6th Street. And Bill Number 171128, entitled An Ordinance to Amend the Philadelphia Zoning Maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by Moore Street, 6th Street, McClellan Street, and 7th Street. And Bill Number 171129, entitled An Ordinance Adopting an Amendment to the Articles of Incorporation of the South Street Head House District of Philadelphia to extend the term of that authority. And Bill Number 171130, entitled An Ordinance Approving the Plan, Estimated Costs, and Proposed Method of Assessment and Charges of the South Street Head House District of Philadelphia for and concerning business improvements and administrative services to the eastern South Street and Head House areas of the City of Philadelphia. And Bill Number 180005, entitled An Ordinance to Amend the Philadelphia Zoning Maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by Euclid Street, 53rd Street, Moore Street, and George's Lane. And Bill Number 180075, entitled An Ordinance to Amend the Philadelphia Zoning Maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by Ashton Road, Old Ashton Road, Welsh Road, Axe Factory Road, Winchester Avenue, Home Avenue, and Home Circle. Respectfully reports it has considered the same and returns the attached bills to council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you, Mr. Decker. Chair again recognizes Councilman Greenlee.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the rules of council be suspended so as to permit first reading this day of the 9 bills that were just read into the record.
Thank you. It has been moved and properly second that the rules of council be suspended so as to permit first reading this day of Bill Number 170995, 170996, 171002, 171003, 171128, 171129, 171130, 180005, and 180075. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it. These bills will be placed on our first reading calendar today. The chair now recognizes Councilwoman Kenney Sanchez for a report from the Committee of Appropriations.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Committee on Appropriations reports 1 bill with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you. Mr. Decker, please read the report.
The Committee on Appropriations, to which is referred Bill Number 180006, entitled An Ordinance Authorizing Transfers and Appropriations for Fiscal Year 2018 from the Grants Revenue Fund, the Director of Finance Provision for Other Grants, to the General Fund, the Managing Director. Respectfully reports it has considered the same and returns the attached bill to council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you. Chair again recognizes Councilwoman Kenney Sanchez.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the rules of council be suspended as to permit first reading this day of Bill number 180006.
Thank you. It has been moved and properly second that the rules of council be suspended so as to permit first reading this day of bills number 180006. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it, and that bill will be placed on our first reading calendar today. Chair now recognizes Councilman Greenlee for a report from the Committee of Law and Government.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Committee on Law and Government reports one bill and one resolution with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you. Mr. Decker, read that report.
The Committee on Law and Government, to which is referred Bill Number 180098, entitled An Ordinance Providing for the Submission to the Qualified Electors of the City of Philadelphia of an amendment to the Educational Supplement to the Philadelphia Home Rule Charter relating to the eligibility, selection, and removal of the members of the Board of Education, relating to the Board of Education's responsibility for the administration of the school district, creating a Parent and Community Advisory Council is approved by resolution of the City Council, and Resolution Number 180112, entitled A Resolution Proposing an Amendment to the Educational Supplement to the Philadelphia Home Rule Charter relating to the eligibility, selection, and removal of the members of the Board of Education, relating to the Board of Education's responsibility for the administration of the school district, creating a Parent and Community Advisory Council, and providing for the submission of the amendment to the electors of Philadelphia. Respectfully reports, it has considered the same and returns the attached bill and resolution to council with a favorable recommendation.
Chair again recognizes Councilman Greenlee.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the rules of council be suspended so as to permit first reading this day of Bill Number 180098.
Thank you. It's been moved and properly seconded that the rules of council be suspended so as to permit first reading this day of bills number 180098. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it, and this bill will be placed on our first reading calendar today. Resolution number 180112 will be placed on our final passage calendar at our next session of council. That concludes our committee report. And the next order of business is consideration of the calendar. I note that the bills just reported from committee with suspension of the rules have been deemed to have had a first reading. These bills will be placed on our second reading and final passage calendar at our next session of council. There are no additional bills today on the first reading calendar, so the chair recognizes Councilman Heenan for the purpose of calling up bills and resolutions on our final passage calendar today.
Thank you, Mr. President. The following resolutions and bills are being pulled up for second reading and final passage calendar today. Bill numbers 180145, 180143, 180144, 180145, 180149, 180151, 180153, 180154, 180-155, 171109, 170962, 171 118, 171-119, 171-120, 171-121, 171-122, 171-123, 171-124. All other resolutions and bills are being held.
Thank you. We will now move to our public comment session. Our public comment session will go as follows. If you are interested in testifying a bill or resolution on the final passage calendar today, if you have not already done so, I ask that you sign up at the table to my left. When your name is called, you will go to the middle of the council chamber where there's a podium. On that podium, there's a device. When the light turns green on that device, it will be your time to speak. When the light turns yellow, you will have 30 seconds to conclude your remarks. When the light turns red, we'd ask that you please adhere to our guidelines and conclude your remarks. We thank you for your anticipated cooperation. You will have 3 minutes to speak. Mr. Decker, please call the first name on the list.
Joe Danahill, commenting on 180154, 180153, 180145, 180149, and 180155, and 171145.
This is an official decree of the people, and Remandambus Quo Warranto, and as such requires immediate action remedy. The recent shootings and my stolen home are the result of both violating officials allowing and enabling law violators to go unprosecuted. You were hired to maintain the rule of law, investigate law violations, and demand the Attorney General investigate and prosecute missing and misused hundreds of millions of mostly federal taxpayer housing and urban development money given to resolve Logan, as indicated by the Obama administration. I again quote Dr. King, "He who passively accepts evil is as much involved in it as he who perpetrates it. Unenforced laws are causing chaos. Laws are like Bibles. Unless they are followed, nothing changes. As public servants, you cannot violate oath constitution laws without penalty. How can officials deny and defy inalienable and valuable God-given rights? How can agents and agencies steal my home without compensation, due process, Seventh Amendment trial by jury? How can government pay a contractor upwards of $100 million, mostly federal, taxpayer money, to build a mall on my stolen home?" Ben Franklin was quoted, "You have a republic if you can keep it." Clearly, prosecution is required immediately of all involved to preserve the rule of law. The constitutions require immediate remedy of this breach of law, breach of clause, breach of fiduciary duty. Your oath of office requires you to act or face prison. 42 U.S.C. 1982, 1983, 1985, 1986, 1987, 18 U.S.C. 241, 242, 23A1, 23A4, PA Constitution, Article 1, Sections 1 through 11, 26 PA CSA 703, 705, 706, 709, 712, 713, 716, and other laws listed in SCOTUS 158965, 141330, 144056 appear violated. I call for the federal and Commonwealth governments to perform their constitutional obligations, to investigate and prosecute all involved in the theft and illegal deed transfer of my home, 1038 West Wyoming Avenue, the denial of God-given 42 U.S.C. 1982 property rights for 24 years is egregious, extraordinary oath violating and requires immediate remedy. A just government must obey the rule of law. This color of law government must have its charter of government revoked until a constitutionally compliant government is installed. Public servants cannot refuse their sworn duty to act any more than a fireman can refuse to fight a fire. The sovereign people require oath constitution laws be enforced. Jail is required for all who violate oath constitutional law. I remind council, it takes a lot of cooperation to create and allow monumental corruption.
Thank you for your testimony.
Emmanuel Bussey, commenting on 180155.
Morning.
Good morning, everyone. So, all of you should have received an interim report card for City Council. In 2015, we had a black political summit.
Mr. Bussey?
Yes, you need to say my name first?
Are you you put down you want to talk about vacant property in the 8th District? Can you at least give the impression that you're going to talk about that and start out by talking about that?
I normally would, but I ain't in the mood.
Just accommodate us for a moment.
I know, I normally would, but I ain't in the mood to play games, right?
Well, we're not playing games here today. We're just asking you to abide by the rules. If you could just start out talking about 8th District and segue into what you want to segue.
I am going to get into that. This
because we don't, there are rules.
All right, so you want me to introduce the bill first or say the bill first? How do you want me to proceed? I'm going to get into, you don't know what I'm going to talk about because I just started. So how do you want me to proceed?
I mean, the rules are that you're supposed to be talking about what you indicated on the list.
How do you know I'm not going to do that? Because the way I introduce myself or introduce the topic, how do you know I'm not going to talk about that? That level of arrogance, right? My time can't be running out because he told me to stop. How
Mr.
my time
Bussey?
running out, he told me don't start. This is what I'm talking about.
Mr. Bussey?
Yes.
Public comment is for the purpose of talking about something on the calendar.
How do you know I was not going to talk about something on the calendar?
Can you please talk about that and then we can proceed?
Again, back in 2015, the Black Political Summit had a conference with 31 recommendations that almost every council person signed off on, except 3 or 4.
In the 8th District?
In the 8th District as well.
No, the 8th district property.
The 8th district property, the council person for that district signed off on it as well. Now, if you want to interrupt me, do I get more time?
Well, Mr. Bussey, you're not going to come in and dictate the terms of
I'm
the
not
process.
dictating the terms. I'm talking about that bill. I'm talking about that piece of legislation. I'm going to get to that. That piece of legislation, you can't dictate to me how I talk about my topic. So, see, this is what it is, right? You really don't care about that, because what you do care about is trying to control people. Because you sit up there as president of the city council, you want to dictate to us how we discuss a topic. This is all about your pride and your ego. This isn't about this topic.
You know,
Time is up.
if you want to talk about the 8th district property disposition, you can do that.
I'm getting it. Do the 8th district have a council person? All right, then. All right. So you can't tell me how to talk about the 8th district property when I'm talking about the 8th district council person. That property is in a district that has a council person, which I'm talking about. So you want me to talk about it in a certain way? How do you want me to receive it?
You got a minute left on your time.
Don't put your hands on me. Don't put your hands on me.
Don't touch him. Don't touch him. Don't touch him.
I didn't get a chance to speak. He told me not to speak. I didn't get a chance to speak. I got 30 seconds into my speech and you're going to tell me I can't speak? Why not? Why not, Daryl? Why not? Why not? This is the problem. The level of disrespect and disregard and arrogance by this body, by that leadership is the problem. We got great council people, but they lay it by somebody that's arrogant, that his ego gets in his own way. This is the problem. You can't, I want to talk about the bill. So how many can't be about 3 minutes?
We're going to call the next person.
Tracy Purdy.
I'm the same.
Tracy Purdy. Pamela Williams. Pamela Williams. Marie Patterson.
Pastor Pam is here.
Morning.
Good morning. Good morning to everyone. I am totally and unequivocally appalled at the process, Mr. President. I think that, and I know I'm supposed to speak on the bill, so just...
Just start it out. I mean, I know how it works. If you just start and say, I'm talking about property in the 8th district, and then you can we're just asking you to
I'm
comply
talking about
by
a project in the 8th district,
All right.
but just like the rules are suspended for the council people who I pay to represent me, I ask that the rules be suspended so I can make the comment that is necessary because I am a citizen in the city of Philadelphia and I pay taxes. What has happened today to the public and the citizens in this chamber is utterly and unnecessarily disrespectful. We were told that we could not sit in this chamber of which we pay for and which these persons represent us, and we were sent upstairs. I was told that someone would come upstairs to get me. When it was my turn to speak, no one ever came. The sound system up there is not working. We could not hear the bills that you read. If I ask the city council persons who are sitting on this floor what the third bill was read, I believe that they can't even tell us because the monitoring system is so horrible in here. We are at a crossroads in Philadelphia, and something must change. It must change because the people are being disrespected. The people in black and brown communities in this city are being disenfranchised, and everybody in this body has been elected to represent us and to cause us to be able to have power, to rise up and to have a great life in this great city. Gentrification is at a high rate in this city. Nowhere in this city should a developer be able to come in and redesign a home, and the home costs $217,000 for sale, and I live in a house that's worth $56,000, and I can't even afford to pay the taxes. I'm here today to serve notice. I've come out of my cocoon, and I'm here to fight like hell that something change in this city, because it is not right, Mr. President, council persons. It's not right, because these people are being disenfranchised, and we're being disenfranchised by the political system that exists and was elected by the people. If you're going to stand up for the people, be for the people, rise up for the people, and make sure the people are being counted and taken care of. And that's what the city of Philadelphia should be, and that's what we should stand for. A city of brotherly love and sisterly affection.
Thank you. Thank you for your testimony.
Marie Patterson, commenting on 180155.
Good morning.
Good morning. Can you repeat the bill, please?
180155.
180155. My name is Marie Patterson, and I represent the 5th Councilmanic District. I've lived in North Philly all my life. 18055 is no different than any other bill that is on this table. The council people in this city are not doing what they're supposed to do. I see a lot of people sitting around hugging. Our children are being destroyed. Philadelphia is being destroyed. And it's because we don't have good leadership. That's all I have to say. It's not going to take me 3 minutes.
Thank you.
It's not going to take me 3 minutes to tell you, council people, what you should be doing. You get an F on the housing. In my part of town, housing for black people, it's been gentrified. I don't see housing for black people affordable. That came from Darrell Clark, that's the head of the 5th Councilmanic District. I have violence prevention. I see violence every day. There are plenty of plans out there that could talk about violence prevention, but I don't see it in my council. And I see you all sitting here making rules, but they are not for the African Americans and the people the constituents who you're supposed to be working for. Temple, Union, the EOP projects, the campaign finance, and the Black Political Summit. These are all things that we say that council have an F for. F because you didn't make an effort. F because you're not representing the people. And this right here is a dog and pony show that me, as a citizen of Philadelphia, will no longer be a part of the dog and pony show. We're here, different kind of Democrat, professionals for progress, to change the narrative of how Philadelphia should be living. We should not be second-class citizens.
Thank you for your testimony, ma'am.
Zahira Ahmad. Zahira Ahmad.
Man, no. You already spoke.
She yielded the floor for Emmanuel Bussey.
That's not how it works, man. Come on. That's not how it works. Hold on a second. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Cindy Bass.
Thank you, Mr. President. Point of information, 180155 is a lot transfer, a vacant lot transfer. That, as we all know, the city of Philadelphia has a very difficult time with vacant lots, and so we do encourage property owners to take responsibility for those side lots next to them, and that's what the transfer of 180155 is. So.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
You're welcome.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'm speaking on Bill 10855, and most importantly, how we, the black people, the brown people, the minority people of Philadelphia have no say. No one pays attention to us. No one listens to us. Time and time again, we have fought, we have fight, we have spoken, and nothing is being done. We look at things that's going on around this city, and we clearly, each and every one of us sitting here, can honestly say we disagree with so much.
There are bills being passed that should not even be passed. There are bills that should be passed that are being overlooked. One being the schools. Our children should not be suffering in the school system. The teachers should not have to come out of their pockets and pay for supplies to teach their students. The teachers should not have to be referees to disarm children. The teachers are there to teach, and this is why our children are losing now, because we don't have leadership to stand up and help these teachers do what they are here to do.
Thank you, ma'am, for your testimony.
John Evans. John Evans.
Move on.
Greg Brinkley. Commenting on 170954A.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I really didn't prepare a speech. I don't think I need one. Very clearly on this bill, I got some clarification from Council Blackwell's office that this bill also has a connotation that council is the final, can approve this bill. I'm not liking the makeup of the nominating panel. I don't think it has enough African-American male presence. I unapologetically make that comment. I think it's disproportionate to the amount of school kids in terms of the makeup of the schools. I think that council should require, before they approve it, I'm going to put it on record, that the mayor who opposes the extension of the amnesty program to get money for the schools, but yet he will not file a lawsuit against the parking authority for the money that they haven't given. I'm not understanding that dichotomy. I think that is disrespectful. And with all due respect to you, Council President, I support the different kind of Democrat, and I think that leadership has a lot to do with anybody. You set the tone for that. And with all due respect to you, you have failed.
Quiet, please. Quiet. Elizabeth McGraw. Commenting on 180153, 180154, and 180150.
Good morning.
Good morning.
You already know I'm Elizabeth McGraw. You already know what bill I'm standing here to dispute. I support Progressives for Progress and Democratic DKOD's position on this, but my comments are no reflection on them. I have so much I want to say in a limited amount of time to say it. I just want to say that I am appalled at City Council's audacity to open your session in prayer. I nearly fainted. I nearly fell out of my seat. How dare you open your session in prayer, asking for God's blessings. Everybody say amen, while you fail our children and jeopardize our futures. I'm disgusted and appalled. I'm a 65-year-old grandmother who's raising children in this community. And you fail us this way, all under praying? I'm done.
Thank you for your testimony, ma'am. Yep. That's it? Got another one?
Rochelle Bilal. Commenting on 160248.
Good morning.
Good morning, Councilman President, and good morning, council people. I'm Rochelle Bilal, different kind of Democrat. I am voting no for Bill 160248 in reference to excluding new businesses from occupancy tax. We have an organization in this city that is on Girard Avenue. Not only did you increase our taxes from $1,500 to almost $8,000, we pay about $168 occupancy tax every single month. And we've been here since 1972. You want to relieve new businesses of occupancy tax, then you should relieve those that have businesses and have been serving this city since 1972 of their occupancy tax first. We have abatement, and now we got a relief of occupancy tax. You got to stop this giving people a break when you don't give us who work in this city, in this community, have a business, a nonprofit organization that serves the community a break first before you give anybody else that comes into this city another abatement, another occupancy tax exclusion in this city. I say vote no on 160248. On the other hand, in reference to this report card from the President for Progress and different kind of Democrats, we're saying you haven't done enough. When you get a grade of a 50, that gives you an F. So right now, City Council stands at a grade 50, which is an F. An F in the Parking Authority. Take back the street parking and fund our schools. An F on affordable housing. You got people that can't even come in, that live in this city and can't get a house. Our children wants to stay here, but they can't because they can't afford housing in this city. Violence prevention. You say you want to wait until summertime? Well, we done had 9 shootings in this city in a matter of a week, and you want to wait for violence prevention? You get an F. Temple, we say no to the stadium, no to the stadium, no to the stadium. You get an F. We are saying we need representation in this city, and we're saying right now, City Council is getting a 50 grade mark, means you get an F. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony.
Sister Talia Taylor, commenting on 170408.
Good morning.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sister Talia, and first off, I want to say thank you to Councilwoman Brown and Councilwoman Gim on stepping up for our children in the Philadelphia School District, because I also don't believe that any kids between kindergarten and 5th grade actually know what they're doing, and suspension is way too far when they belong in school. So I do thank you for that. I do thank you for that. But that's not enough when this city ignores the needs of the black and brown people. They display a good smoke screen, acting like they're helping, but we see no results in our communities. I am the vice chair of the Philadelphia Anti-Violence Coalition, and I have hundreds of soldiers out there in the streets doing outreach work. We get no help whatsoever. None whatsoever. We keep saying that we're going to get help, We're doing it off our dimes. I'm working 2.5 jobs just so I can support one of my programs out of my own pocket. We're not getting no help, but we're getting the numbers and keeping the kids out the street. But there's 60 million plus going to programs that we don't see come in our neighborhoods. Where's the money? It's not funding anything for us. We're still closing down recreation centers, still closing down schools. It's not enough for our children. That's why I believe, and you know I love you, Councilman Curtis Jones, and others, David Elliott, you're my man, and Jenny Blackwell, but leadership has to go.
Thank you.
And I am a different kind of Democrat.
Thank you for your testimony.
There are no other speakers in the public comment list, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Decker. So actually looking forward to more. I'm good. Thank you. But your words are obviously taken seriously, and as usual, we're prepared to sit down and talk about real solutions for real issues. Thank you so much for being here today. All right, come on. You had your time. All right. Manny. Man. Okay, you had your say. Let's move on. Okay, we're going to move on to the calendar. Okay. We're ready to rock. Mr. Decker, We're going to move towards our calendar. And could you please read the title of 171-145?
A resolution initiating action to establish a neighborhood improvement district in the area that generally includes both sides of North 2nd Street from the north side of Calla Street to the south side of Girard Avenue, both sides of North 3rd Street from Spring Garden Street to the south side of Wildey Street, Spring Garden Street from North 2nd Street to the eastern side of North 5th Street, and certain blocks of streets that intersect portions of these streets, to be known as the Northern Liberties Business Improvement District, for which the Northern Liberties Business Improvement District Incorporated, which has organized itself as a Pennsylvania nonprofit corporation, serves as the Neighborhood Improvement District Management Association.
Chair recognizes Councilman Squilla. Motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. 171-145 has been adopted. Mr. Decker, 180-143.
A resolution approving the Second Amendment to the redevelopment contract of the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority for the redevelopment and urban renewal of a portion of the Mantua urban renewal area identified by house number and street address as 3509 Haverford Avenue, including 3502 Mount Vernon Street.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Blackwell.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. Resolution 180-143 is adopted. Mr. Decker, 180-144.
A resolution approving the First Amendment to the redevelopment contract of the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority for the redevelopment and urban renewal of a portion of the Mantua urban renewal area identified by house numbers and street addresses as 3300 through 08, 3310, 3312, 3314, 3316 Mantua Avenue, 701, 703, 705, 707, and 709 through 711 North 34th Street.
Chair can recognize Councilwoman Blackwell.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. 180-144 is adopted. Mr. Decker, 180-145.
A resolution authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority without consideration deeds conveying conditional fee simple title to certain city-owned lots and pieces of ground with the buildings and improvements thereon situate in the 44th Ward of the City of Philadelphia.
Chair, one more time, recognizes Councilwoman Blackwell.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. 180-145 is adopted. Mr. Decker, 180-149.
A resolution authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority without consideration deeds conveying conditional fee simple title to certain city-owned lots and pieces of ground with the buildings and improvements thereon situate in the 38th Ward of the City of Philadelphia.
Chair recognizes Councilman Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. 180-149 is adopted. Mr. Decker, 180-151.
A resolution urging United States Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross to adopt the recommendations of the U.S. Conference of Mayors on the 2020 census and its impact on municipalities.
Chair recognizes Councilman Green.
Thank you, Council President. I'll be very brief. As everyone in this body knows that under Article 1, Section 2 of the United States Constitution, it requires us to have a census every 10 years. Based on that census, that's how we allocate the members of Congress as well as how funding is provided through cities throughout this nation. In December of last year, the Justice Department actually requested that the Census Bureau provide a question regarding citizenship be placed on the 2020 census. Many people in this body know that there's historically been an undercount of people of color in our census, and as a result, that has caused us to have reduced resources, not only in the city of Philadelphia, but cities around this nation. I was pleased that Mayor Kenney, along with other members of the United States Conference of Mayors, requested to Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross to not have this type of language in the 2020 census, as well as make sure we provide adequate resources so that all people in not only the city of Philadelphia, but throughout the Commonwealth and throughout the nation are properly counted in the census. And so I'm glad to support this resolution, and with that, I move for the adoption.
Thank you. It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. 180-151 is adopted. Mr. Decker, 180-153.
A resolution approving the redevelopment contract of the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority for the redevelopment and urban renewal of a portion of the Greenwich redevelopment area identified by house number and street address as 522 Mercy Street.
Chair recognizes Councilman Squilla.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it. 180-153 is adopted. Mr. Decker, 180-154.
A resolution authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority without consideration deeds conveying conditional fee simple title to certain city-owned lots and pieces of ground with the buildings and improvements thereon, situated in the 25th Ward of the City of Philadelphia.
Chair recognizes Councilman Squilla.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
Thank you. It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. 180-154 is adopted. Mr. Decker, 180-155.
A resolution authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority without consideration deeds conveying conditional fee simple title to certain city-owned lots and pieces of ground with the buildings and improvements thereon, situated in the 12th Ward of the City of Philadelphia.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Bass.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. 180-155 is adopted. Mr. Decker, please read the title of 170962.
An ordinance amending Chapter 9200 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Commercial Activities on Streets by amending Section 9211 entitled Boxes for the Distribution of News and Printed Material relating to the regulation of newspaper boxes on the public sidewalk by including certain areas in the vicinity of Northern Liberties to be subject to the provisions of this section.
This bill has been heard on two separate days. The question is, shall the bill pass finally? Mr. Decker, call the roll.
Councilwoman Bass. Councilwoman Blackwell. Councilman Dom. Councilman Green. Councilman Greenlee. Councilwoman Gim. Councilman Heenan. Councilman Johnson. Councilman Jones. Councilman O'Neill. Councilman O. Councilwoman Parker. Councilwoman Gunnar Sanchez. Councilwoman Reynolds Brown. Councilman Squilla. Councilman Toppenberger. Council President Clark.
Aye, the ayes are 17 and nays are 0. Majority of members present voting in the affirmative, the bill passes. Mr. Decker, 171118.
An ordinance amending Chapter 10800 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Safety by repealing certain provisions of Section 10806 relating to construction of reviewing stands.
This bill has been heard on two separate days. The question is, shall the bill pass finally? Mr. Decker, call the roll.
Councilwoman Bass. Councilwoman Blackwell. Councilman Dom. Councilman Green. Councilman Greenlee. Councilwoman Gim. Councilman Heenan. Councilman Johnson. Councilman Jones. Councilman O'Neill. Councilman O. Councilwoman Parker. Councilwoman Gunnar Sanchez. Councilwoman Reynolds Brown. Councilman Squilla. Councilman Toppenberger. Council President Clark.
Aye, the ayes are 17 and nays are 0. Majority of members present voting in the affirmative, the bill passes. Mr. Decker, 171119.
An ordinance amending Chapter 9400 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Carriers by repealing certain provisions relating to motor buses.
This bill has been heard on two separate days. The question is, shall the bill pass finally? Mr. Decker, call the roll.
Councilwoman Bass. Councilwoman Blackwell. Councilman Dom. Councilman Green. Councilman Greenlee. Councilwoman Gim. Councilman Heenan. Councilman Johnson. Councilman Jones. Councilman O'Neill. Councilman O. Councilwoman Parker. Councilwoman Gunnar Sanchez. Councilwoman Reynolds Brown. Councilman Squilla. Councilman Toppenberger. Council President Clark.
Aye, the ayes are 16 and nays are 0. Majority of members present voting in the affirmative, the bill passes. Mr. Decker, 171120.
An ordinance amending Chapter 9700 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Amusement Businesses by repealing Section 9704 relating to motion pictures.
This bill has been heard on two separate days. The question is, shall the bill pass finally? Mr. Decker, call the roll.
Councilwoman Bass. Councilwoman Blackwell. Councilman Dom. Councilman Green. Councilman Greenlee. Councilwoman Gim. Councilman Heenan. Councilman Johnson. Councilman Jones. Councilman O'Neill. Councilman O. Councilwoman Parker. Councilwoman Gunnar Sanchez. Councilwoman Reynolds Brown. Councilman Squilla. Councilman Toppenberger. Council President Clark.
Aye, the ayes are 16 and nays are 0. Majority of members present voting in the affirmative, the bill passes. Mr. Decker, 171121.
An ordinance amending Chapter 9600 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Service and Other Businesses by repealing certain provisions relating to refuse collection.
This bill has been heard on 2 separate days. The question is, shall the bill pass finally? Mr. Decker, call the roll.
Councilwoman Bass. Councilwoman Blackwell. Councilman Dom. Councilman Green. Councilman Greenlee. Councilwoman Gim. Councilman Heenan. Councilman Johnson. Councilman Jones. Councilman O'Neill. Councilman O. Councilwoman Parker. Councilwoman Corona Sanchez. Councilwoman Reynolds Brown. Councilman Squilla. Councilman Taubenberger. Council President Clark.
Aye, the ayes are 16, the nays are 0. Majority of members present voting in affirmative, the bill passes. Mr. Decker, 171, 122.
An ordinance amending Chapter 10800 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Safety by repealing certain provisions relating to excavations and obstructions.
This bill has been heard on 2 separate days. The question is, shall the bill pass finally? Mr. Decker, call the roll.
Councilwoman Bass. Councilwoman Blackwell. Councilman Dom. Councilman Green. Councilman Greenlee. Councilwoman Gim. Councilman Heenan. Councilman Johnson. Councilman Jones. Councilman O'Neill. Councilman O. Councilwoman Parker. Councilwoman Corona Sanchez. Councilwoman Reynolds Brown. Councilman Squilla. Councilman Taubenberger. Council President Clark.
Aye, the ayes are 16, the nays are 0. Majority of members present voting in affirmative, the bill passes. Mr. Decker, 171, 123.
An ordinance amending Chapter 9700 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Amusement Businesses by repealing Section 9708 relating to compulsory vehicle amusement device insurance.
This bill has been heard on 2 separate days. The question is, shall the bill pass finally? Mr. Decker, call the roll.
Councilwoman Bass. Councilwoman Blackwell. Councilman Dom. Councilman Green. Councilman Greenlee. Councilwoman Gim. Councilman Heenan. Councilman Johnson. Councilman Jones. Councilman O'Neill. Councilman O. Councilwoman Parker. Councilwoman Corona Sanchez. Councilwoman Reynolds Brown. Councilman Squilla. Councilman Taubenberger. Council President Clark.
Aye, the ayes are 17 and nays are 0. Majority of members present voting in affirmative, bill passes. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Blackwell.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to be voted aye for any bills I missed when I stepped out of the room.
Thank you, Councilwoman. The record
Thank
shall
you.
reflect that Councilwoman Blackwell has voted aye on the bills that she missed while she was out of the room. Thank you. And those votes shall be reflected as 17-0. Mr. Decker, 171, 124.
An ordinance amending Chapter 9600 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Service and Other Businesses by repealing Section 9630 relating to sale of used cars.
This bill has been heard on 2 separate days. The question is, shall the bill pass finally? Mr. Decker, call the roll.
Councilwoman Bass. Councilwoman Blackwell. Councilman Dom. Councilman Green. Councilman Greenlee. Councilwoman Gim. Councilman Heenan. Councilman Johnson. Councilman Jones. Councilman O'Neill. Councilman O. Councilwoman Parker. Councilwoman Corona Sanchez. Councilwoman Reynolds Brown. Councilman Squilla. Councilman Taubenberger. Council President Clark.
Aye. The ayes are 17 and nays are 0. Majority of members present voting in affirmative, the bill passes. Mr. Decker, you have any additional resolutions?
A resolution recognizing and celebrating the 2018 Small Business Week celebration in the city of Philadelphia, introduced by Councilwoman Reynolds Brown.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Reynolds Brown.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution recognizing and honoring Cheney University on the 40th anniversary of its 1978 NCAA Division II Basketball Championship, introduced by Councilwoman Blackwell.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Blackwell.
Thank you, Mr. President. Janie from Cheney asked that it be adopted.
Best motion I've heard all day. Did I get a second? Second. It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed? Ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution honoring the St. Hubert High School cheerleading teams on a season of success culminating in junior varsity winning the national championship and varsity winning the PIAA state championship, introduced by Councilman Heenan.
Chair recognizes Councilman Heenan.
I vote for the adoption of the resolution.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution authorizing the City Council Committee on Finance to hold public hearings concerning an update from the Philadelphia Board of Pensions and Retirement about the city's divestment of holdings in gun and ammunition manufacturers, distributors, and retailers since the adoption of the Sandy Hook Principles, introduced by Councilman Jones.
Chair recognizes Councilman Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for that adoption.
It's been moved and probably second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution authorizing the City Council Committee on Public Safety to hold hearings examining the development of an extreme risk protection order program within the City of Philadelphia to allow for the temporary removal of firearms from individuals that pose a high risk of harm to themselves and others, introduced by Councilman Jones.
Chair again recognizes Councilman Jones.
In an effort to improve our grade, I move for the adoption.
It's moved and probably second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution recognizing and honoring Drexel University senior and Overbrook resident Amy Turner for being crowned Miss Philadelphia 2018, introduced by Councilman Jones.
Chair one more time recognizes Councilman Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption.
It's been moved and probably second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution honoring the legacy of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. on the 50th anniversary of his death. Introduced by Councilman Johnson.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Councilman Johnson.
Thank you, Council President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution commemorating the 50th anniversary of the release of the Kerner Commission's final report entitled The Report of the National Advisory Commission on Civil Disorders, introduced by Councilwoman Parker.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Parker.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution declaring March 1st, 2018 as Disability Day of Mourning in the City of Philadelphia to raise awareness of felicity of disabled children and adults, introduced by Councilman Taubenberger.
Chair recognizes Councilman Taubenberger.
Council President, I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
There are no other resolutions on the final passage calendar, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. That concludes our calendar. We will have a 5-minute pause, and we will proceed. 5 minutes. Right? Have a little quiet, please. I'm going to have phase 2 of our council session. Thank you for your patience. Time has come for us to consider the mayor's presentation of his annual budget. The Philadelphia Home Rule Charter states that the mayor shall submit to council no later than 90 days before the end of the fiscal year his operating budget message and proposed operating budget ordinance for the ensuing fiscal year. At the same time, the mayor shall submit to council the recommended capital program and capital budget as received from the City Planning Commission to the extent approved by the mayor. I now appoint the following committee to escort the mayor to the council chambers: Councilman Heenan, Councilwoman Reynolds Brown, Councilman Greenlee, Councilman O'Neill, and Councilman O. Thank you. You're supposed to applaud.
Thank you, everyone. Please be seated. Good morning, or good afternoon. And to Council President Darrell Clark and all of my colleagues on City Council, it's great to be back in this chamber and to be here with you all. I'm grateful that we're joined by Philadelphia's newest elected officials, District Attorney Larry Krasner and City Controller Rebecca Reiner. As I said at your inauguration, I look forward to working with you both in the coming months and years on a wide range of important issues. We're just 2 months in and 2018 is already proving to be a banner year for Philadelphia. I don't know about you, but I'm still pinching myself that the Eagles are Super Bowl champions. And that great parade up Broad Street to the steps of the Art Museum showed the world yet again that Philly knows how to throw a huge celebration. To the thousands of city workers who made that parade happen, we thank you. It was an example of the quality of work you deliver day in and day out. 2018 has also brought the tremendous news that Philadelphia is among the 20 finalists to host Amazon's second headquarters. Oh, sorry. I don't know, I think 50,000 jobs is pretty good, but anyway. Partners from every part of this region rose to the occasion and supported the Amazon HQ2 bid. Their contributions and the consistent support shown by all of you here in City Council undoubtedly boosted the city's prospects. We all understand what a game changer this would be for Philadelphia. When all branches of local government are focused on working together for progress, the residents of the city and region benefit. 2 years ago, we worked together and enacted the Philadelphia beverage tax. In its first full year, that tax brought in nearly $79 million. To date, more than 2,700 3- and 4-year-olds have benefited from the free quality early education through our PHL pre-K program. That $79 million also funded 11 community schools, supporting more than 6,500 students, most of whom live below the poverty line. Last year, you approved legislation authorizing our rebuild program. And just a few weeks ago, you introduced legislation to kick off this investment in neighborhood parks, recreation centers, and libraries. Now, the beverage industry would like folks to think that somehow $79 million in new revenue is a failure. I suppose when you can spend over $15 million over 2 years just for lobbying, and when you can pay a single CEO nearly $30 million a year in salary, then maybe $79 million seems like chump change, but not to us. But for the residents of Philadelphia who are benefiting from these programs, it certainly isn't chump change. I am hopeful that the coming year will bring a final resolution to the lawsuit, allowing us to move forward with the full expansion of PHL pre-K and community schools, and with the capital borrowing for the rebuild program. Of course, it is our city's most vulnerable residents who have long been a top priority here in City Council. In the past year, Council members Gim and Johnson and Keona Sanchez spearheaded the Philadelphia Eviction Prevention and Response Task Force. This work will help ensure that the rights of renters are protected and assistance is provided to keep them in their homes. That effort, in turn, will help mitigate homelessness, an issue in which our good friend Janie Blackwell has worked tirelessly throughout her entire life to stop. At the same time, Councilwoman Sherelle Parker has been laser-focused on a matter that hasn't received enough attention, the threat to Philadelphia's middle neighborhoods. She has made clear that even as we focus on poverty, we cannot lose sight of the communities where vulnerabilities are less obvious. That is why we're allocating $500,000 in additional funding for investments in our commercial corridors. Those are just some of the many examples of how every day of the year, City Council fights for those who have no voice. You've done tremendous work to boost opportunities and level the playing field. As I come before you today, I only wish I had sufficient resources to fully address every challenge our city faces, but unfortunately we don't. The spending plan is lean. We have combed through every part of government looking for new efficiencies. We have stepped up our efforts to reduce tax delinquency, thanks in part to ideas put forth by Council members Alan Dom and Mark Squilla. Nearly 9,000 properties were removed from the delinquency rolls in the past year, and now more than 95% of property owners pay on time. We will continue to work with them on these essential efforts. But make no mistake, we must continue to find ways to do more with the resources that we have. Last fall, some of you joined me as we released the result of the first survey of Philadelphia residents in more than a decade. The issues our residents care about were clear: better streets, more efficient sanitation services, and improved public safety ranked as the top 3 services that the city should focus on. I am pleased to say that we listened. This budget and capital program offer new investments for all 3. For public safety, this budget reflects our commitment to protecting all neighborhoods from crime, particularly violent crime. We are investing $100 million over the plan to make sure our police force is at its full complement of over 6,500 officers, a level not reached since the recession of 2009. I know Council President Clark and Councilman Johnson, who spend much of their time working with victims of gun violence, will share my belief that this staffing level can have a meaningful impact on reducing crime. There's already progress. Violent crime is at its lowest level since 1979, and property crime is at its lowest level since 1971. Use of force incidents, including officer-involved shootings, have been consistently declined over the past few years. Thanks to an increased emphasis on training for officers, along with proactive oversight and review by Police Internal Affairs, we expect continued progress in the reform instituted by our great Police Commissioner, Richard Ross. Regarding pedestrian stops, the number of stops lacking reasonable suspicion dropped 72% in 2016 over the previous year, and that dramatic drop has continued. I applaud the men and women of the police department for taking these reforms seriously and for working with police leadership to ensure public safety while protecting constitutional rights. Thanks to the advocacy of Council President Clark, this budget also sets aside increased funding for the Police Advisory Commission. This allows for additional staffing to support its work with the department to review police policy and practice. We have safely reduced our jail population by 24%. We're very proud of that. Along with our criminal justice partners, we push for systemic change. New investments in existing initiatives, strongly championed by Councilman Curtis Jones, will allow us to build on this. The coming year will bring initial construction of the new Police Administration Building at 400 North Broad Street, along with new capital investments for the 2nd and 15th Police Districts in Councilman Heenan's district and the 22nd Police District in Councilman Clark's district. These are vital steps to give the police department what they have long lacked: modern facilities that enhance rather than hinder their ability to do their jobs and keep our residents safe. As you know, the brave men and women of the Philadelphia Fire Department are still grieving. In January, Lieutenant Matt Letourneau lost his life in the line of duty. Matt was as devoted to firefighting as he was to his own family. And I would ask you now to please stand to honor Matt's memory with a moment of silence. Thank you. There is no greater way to honor Matt's sacrifice than commit to investments that can reduce danger to both the public and to our firefighters. These are investments that have long been championed by Council Members O'Neill, Greenlee, Heenan, and Taubenberger. I'm pleased to announce that our 5-year plan commits to the construction of a much-needed logistics hub for the fire department. The hub will provide state-of-the-art training facilities, a centralized gathering location for the entire department in a time of crisis, and safer storage of fire department vehicles that will extend their useful life and reduce maintenance costs. We are boosting staffing levels in the fire department, including new paramedics to over 2,600 members. That represents a 24% increase in funding for staff since we took office. Our capital program calls for the expansion of the fire department's fleet of vehicles. We plan to add 6 engines, 3 ladders, and 11 medic units in the coming year. And we'll continue this $10 million funding level throughout the 6-year capital program. In doing so, we better protect our residents. We save lives, and we honor not only Matt Letourneau, but every firefighter who puts his or her life in harm's way to serve our city. This budget also proposes funding to address one of the most pressing public health crises this city has faced, the scourge of opioids. Like many other cities over the last 2 years, we've seen this epidemic worsen. There were about 1,200 overdose deaths in Philadelphia last year, the highest death toll of any major city in the country. We've seen increased homelessness and public safety issues that affect innocent families and businesses in neighborhoods that have been overwhelmed by the crisis. We failed many people during the crack epidemic by treating it solely as a matter for law enforcement, rather than a public health problem. It was the wrong approach, and it was costly in ways that still impact many Philadelphians today. That's why we need innovative, multi-pronged solutions to treat the opioid epidemic like the health crisis that it is. The Mayor's Task Force to combat the opioid epidemic delivered recommendations focused around education, treatment, overdose prevention, and our criminal justice response. This budget will provide nearly $20 million over 5 years for a range of services to implement those recommendations, and also address the needs of residents in the most affected neighborhoods. We are creating a medic unit that pairs emergency medical workers with outreach workers, and we're developing warm handoffs from emergency departments so that someone who has recently overdosed is connected as quickly as possible for treatment. We are distributing the overdose antidote naloxone to first responders and community members, and we're providing low-barrier housing options that do not require sobriety. We're investing in police-assisted diversion, which provides those with minor drug offenses the opportunity to find help rather than being arrested. With a $3.75 million investment over the next 5 years, this program, a pilot in the 22nd Police District, will expand to East Division, the center of the opioid epidemic. As I stand here today, I know we all wish we didn't have to make these investments. We can all think of other necessary programs we'd like to see expand with this money. That is why the city filed suit against the manufacturers of opioids. It is our hope that one day these firms will be forced to compensate the city for the cost that their unscrupulous marketing practices have created to this government and to our residents. I look forward to continued collaboration with council members like Cindy Bass and Maria Quinones-Sanchez, David O. and Mark Squilla, who have confronted this issue head on. Together, we will continue to work with residents to ease the quality of life issues that have arisen in neighborhoods close to the epicenter of the epidemic. We continue to implement our coordinated effort to address impacts to the West Kensington and Fair Hill neighborhoods. So I ask all of you, let's work together in these efforts. At this time of crisis, we need to pursue all options to save lives and improve our neighborhoods. As I mentioned, thousands of Philadelphians who responded to our resident survey made abundantly clear that streets and sanitation are top concerns. So in this budget, we are not wavering from our goal of repaving more than 130 miles of streets each year by the year 2023. The Streets Department is currently hiring a second crew of more than 30 people for repaving, and the third crew will be added in future years. We also intend to advance Vision Zero, the bold public safety plan to eliminate traffic-related deaths by the year 2030. We plan to spend $60 million over the 5 years for re-engineering of dangerous locations, for expanded traffic calming devices, and for more bike lanes. We'll be purchasing new sanitation compactors to replace aging ones, increasing the reliability of this vital service to our residents. The reconstruction and repaving of streets, improved sanitation collections, and safer streets for pedestrians and bicyclists, all of these are good for economic development, because well-paved roads and streets, along with a clean city, encourage strong private sector commitment to Philadelphia. Another encouraging sign for the city's business community is City Council's regulatory reform initiative spearheaded by Councilman Green. The rules and regs that govern businesses in the city are important, and your efforts will ensure that they are appropriate, up-to-date, and encourage companies to invest in Philadelphia. We look forward to seeing the results of that effort in 2018. Our commitment to Philadelphia's businesses was made abundantly clear a few weeks ago when I spoke to the Chamber of Commerce and announced our workforce development plan, Fueling Philadelphia's Talent Engine. This plan serves as a launching point for the bold steps needed to align education and workforce systems to the talent our businesses need. And a brand new Office of Workforce Development will begin operations this month to coordinate this important work with our outside partners. This will ensure that Fueling Philadelphia's Talent Engine is transformed from a bold plan to a groundbreaking reality. At the same time, we are requesting $500,000 to build off the success of last summer's Fair Chance hiring initiative. Fair Chance provides reimbursements to employers who hire returning citizens and pay them a living wage. Of course, we fully intend to do what Councilwoman Reynolds Brown has long championed, to lead by example, by continuing the City as Model Employer program, which we launched as a pilot last year. City as Model Employer prepares residents who face barriers to employment for positions that are currently difficult for city departments to fill. We're also boosting our commitment to one of the most successful talent engines, the Community College of Philadelphia. This budget will increase funding to the Community College by $1.5 million annually. This will help ensure that thousands of Philly's high school graduates have a chance for a next step, a certificate or associate degree that will open doors as they move into the workforce. These students are waiting for their shot at greatness, just like that team of underdogs we cheered on Broad Street and the Parkway a few weeks ago. Truth is, I believe the real Philadelphia underdogs are our students. Hundreds of thousands of preschoolers, children, teens, young women and young men who have been poorly served by an underfunded school district. A generation of students and families has suffered as a result. Yet no one was ever fully accountable for the outcomes, and the city's power to improve Philadelphia schools were limited. Now we are in a moment of truth. It's time to write a new chapter in the history of Philadelphia schools. Over the last 2 years, thanks to the leadership of Superintendent William Hite and his team, the district has achieved stability and improved literacy and graduation rates. But we still have work to do. We are headed in the right direction. Establishing clear accountability is the best way to make sure we not only stay on course, but also accelerate our progress. In November, I stood before you and made the case for a locally controlled school board. And with your support, we are moving diligently in that direction. The School Reform Commission will cede control this summer, and governance of the schools will revert to a 9-member locally appointed board. To ensure that the new board has time to prepare for a smooth transition into the enormous responsibilities that await, I plan to appoint members later this month. I will make our appointments from a pool of recommendations thoughtfully considered by the educational nominating panel, a diverse group of Philadelphians made up of dedicated parent advocates, former students, educators, and leaders of various citywide organizations. The panel considered more than 500 nominations and applications from all across the city, and within their 40-day deadline, presented a list of 27 recommendations just this week. I welcome the proposed charter amendment to give City Council the authority to approve the Mayor's Board of Education appointments. In the meantime, we'll continue to look to each of you for advice and guidance in this process. We will appoint a board that possesses the diverse skills, knowledge, and perspectives needed to sustain and build on the district's recent success. A board that shares our vision that all students deserve access to a quality school in their own neighborhood. As we return to local control of schools, we must provide the financial stability the district needs so our students and schools can continue building on the real progress they've made in recent years. But the district's forecast is grim, a $900 million deficit projected by the year 2023. Addressing this tremendous need won't be easy, but the alternative is far worse. That would cost us the district's hard-won stability. It will return our students to overcrowded classrooms, lacking in resources, in schools without nurses and counselors. It would set us back just when we are poised to finally move forward. There is nothing left to cut. There is no one else to turn to. While we continue to press the Commonwealth to meet its constitutional requirement to fund schools adequately, we can no longer afford to wait for other people to help us. Right now, it's up to us. We need to step up and provide the financial stability and the accountability that our district needs. So in this budget and 5-year plan, we propose that we start by using existing revenues to boost the city's contribution to the school district by $20 million for each of the next 5 years. In addition, we propose a package of tax measures that deliver stability by closing the district's projected deficit. This includes a 6% property tax increase to bring the district $475 million over 5 years. For the average residential property owner, that means an additional $95 a year. And if they are enrolled in the homestead exemption program, at its current level, it works out to an extra $70 a year, or less than $6 a month. I propose readjusting scheduled reductions in the wage tax to bring in nearly $340 million over 5 years. And an increase in the local portion of the real estate transfer tax will bring the school district about $66 million additional. All told, this package will mean an additional $980 million to the children of Philadelphia over 5 years. I know for many residents this will be a sacrifice. I vow to work with City Council to protect low-income homeowners. We will expand housing counseling and outreach with $2.5 million in foreclosure prevention programs. We will boost funding to the Philadelphia Land Bank by nearly $4 million, and will expand the homestead exemption in light of growing home values. Our residents deserve to know precisely what their sacrifice will accomplish. So let me tell you. Eliminating the deficit and ensuring the financial stability of our schools will enable us to push forward with the School District's Action Plan 3.0, a plan that has generated early success in literacy, college and career readiness, and staffing. It will also bring vital new investments such as capital improvements, including upgraded elementary classrooms, additional 9th grade academies that provide academic supports and counseling to reduce the risks of dropping out, expanded and improved CTE programs, apprenticeship programs, IT internships, and other high school pathways and opportunities. School climate investments to enhance positive and safe school cultures, and expanded college access through advanced placement courses, free SAT testing, and a middle college program where high school students can earn an associate's degree. This investment will also bring specialized reading coaches for every elementary school and expand the focus on early literacy into grades 4 and 5. More counseling assistance to provide bilingual services and support to families, and more ELL teachers to ensure students are acquiring needed English language skills. More opportunities for students to have career exposure and work experience in the summer and year-round. And continued efforts to increase the diversity and quality of our teaching workforce. All of these efforts will take years to fully realize, but we expect to see steady and incremental progress each year, with more students reading on grade level, graduating and successfully transitioning into college and careers. And neighborhoods will flourish around a growing number of successful schools. Families will know they have quality educational options for their kids, and businesses will know their future workers are getting the training and skills they need to succeed. A wise man recently said, "An underdog is a hungry dog. and hungry dogs run faster." Let me tell you, the children of Philadelphia School District, the real underdogs, are very hungry. They're hungry for knowledge that only a properly funded school with updated books, modern technology, and adequate staffing can bring. They're hungry for the opportunities that only a high school diploma or equivalency can achieve. They're hungry for the one thing that students and families in other parts of this state take for granted: hope. hope for a better future. I stand here today ready to be held personally accountable for this. I do so because I envision a day when we are cheering not only athletes on the parkway, but also students at a podium, holding diplomas, holding scholarships, holding job offers, and holding the hands of their proud family members. Students, for the first time, are holding on to the realization they are no longer underdogs. They are champions. We have to make this a reality. These are our kids. There are no one else's kids, and no one else is coming to their rescue. Not from Harrisburg, and not from Washington, D.C., God knows. And every time I enter a pre-K or a kindergarten or an elementary school, what I see are hopeful children who are unspoiled, who don't see race, who want to be loved and want to be educated and want to be successful adults. I see it in preschool, I see it in kindergarten, I see it in elementary schools, I see it in high schools. Our CTE schools, Dobbins, Swenson, all those schools. These young people are hopeful for a future. And we can't keep on talking about it unless we pay for it. And we need to pay for our kids' future. Because in the end, the 26% poverty rate that we have as a city will only be reduced through education. And when I'm long... And when I'm long gone from this earth, what I hope is that our tax base is expanded. We have more people paying taxes and raising families and buying homes in our neighborhoods and making our neighborhoods stable, so we don't have to spend money on prisons, on drug addiction, on all the things we spend money on that we should never spend money on. That we should have people who are successful and can make their way in this world, and we'll all have been better off for that, and that will be our legacy. Let's fund our schools and let's get to work. Thank you.
Okay, hold on. As you leave, because we still have to adjourn council. Those that are leaving, we ask you to leave quietly and quickly. Those that are going to stay, we ask you to allow us to conclude our council session. And before we all leave, I omitted something this year. I'd like to recognize, I guess I can call him my mayor, Mayor John Street. It's a little personal. Mayor Kenney is a close second, but you know, you understand the street connection. Thank you, Mayor, for being here. Temple students, yeah, I see them. Hey, guys. I get it. All right. Why don't we ask everybody to keep quiet so we can go ahead and adjourn. The members will take their seats. We can adjourn and everybody can leave. First of all, any speeches on the part of the minority? Please don't light up. Any speeches on the part of the majority? Don't, please, sir. Thank you. At this time, the chair recognizes Councilwoman Reynolds Brown for a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that City Council stand adjourned until Thursday, March 8th, 2018 at 10 a.m.
Thank you. It's been moved and probably second that council stand adjourned until Thursday, March 8, 2018, 10 a.m. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, the ayes have it, and the motion carries. Thank you all very much.